a two-state solution is pretty much zero, pretty much gone to, at least in the foreseeable future, next 50 years, at least. There is some arrangement may have to be made. Maybe the American pressure might work, and please remember, Trump is going to be here officially till 2028, till 2029 January. After that, what happens is that pressure going to be still maintained again with the Israeli government to force them to have some kind of a agreement with the Palestinians. You don't need the Americans for that. The Israelis know what they're doing. They know how to do this. They've been doing it for years. Remember the agreement with the Egyptians more than 40 years ago. So they know what to do. Question here is, what are they getting out of it? If it's going to be a temporary ceasefire, so to say, between the enemies of Israel and the Hamas and others, then it's okay. Ceasefire is always better than war, better than fighting. No fighting. But if it's going to be just a hold on till the next stage, whenever they can rearm themselves, it's not going to help either side. At least the Israelis are not going to wait. Look, they've had a massive shock. They did not expect this. Many people in the kibbutz that were attacked in what is called the Gaza envelope, that were attacked, the kibbutz and villages and towns that were attacked. There were people there, elderly people, who used to operate bus services. They used to operate car services for the Gazans. They would take them, they would go to Gaza, pick them up, bring them to Israeli hospitals. And when they were healed, free of cost, by the way, they were taken back to Gaza after Yahya Sinwar, if I may remind everybody, had brain cancer. And when he was a prisoner in Israel, he had brain cancer. He was healed and then released as part of the deal with Gilad Shalit's release, the young soldier who was kidnapped by the Hamas. And he was put back. And you see what happened after that. So there is not much of a chance of a long-lasting peace, especially with the Hamas. It's the so-called moderate powers that are there, the Palestinian Authority, and has been mentioned earlier, the concept of pay for slay is that the Palestinian Authority would actually give money to the families of people of the Palestinian members, citizens of the West Bank who would carry out terror attacks, suicide attacks, terror attacks, and the money amount would depend on how intense or how badly they would kill Israelis. So, and then you have the other concept, which is that of reform required, not just for the pay for slay is supposed to be scrapped by the Palestinian Authority, but also the concept of changing their books, their education system, which dehumanizes Jews like nothing that we have seen before. So all this is required. Then we begin to start talking about some kind of normality. And remember, again, people have forgotten 20 years ago, Gaza was technically an independent area. There was not a single Jew there, not a single Israeli there. Prime Minister Ariel Sharon withdrew from every square inch of Gaza. Not a single Israeli was left behind, not even the dead, by the way. The coffins were dug up and brought back to Israel and reburied here, reburied in Israel. Now the question is, if after all that, there has been not even an iota of peace or any intention that, okay, we don't like you, you don't like us, we will not join the Abraham Accords maybe, but you live your life, we live our life. No, it's gone exactly the opposite way. From the first day the Hamas took over in 2007, there's been a plan on to attack Israel. What has been mentioned earlier by Yeshaya, for example, is the long-lasting peace works when you begin to accept that the other person is human. When the other side you can talk to, he's human, there is a family concept, etc. There isn't. Unfortunately, Israel is, even if the other side denies it, it's seen as an illegal occupation of Arab land, of Muslim land. And there is going to be nobody can officially, no Muslim representative can officially say, yes, we recognize Israel, it should be here to stay permanently. They'll say it if they have to, make a lip service kind of a thing. But actual acceptance of Israel is not going to happen for a long, long time to go until the mentality changes. And I don't see that happening.
All right, Arjun, I get your point. Let me quickly go across to Itai. Itai, you heard Arjun, he says there's not much chance for lasting peace, at least right now. From your perspective, what is the realistic solution for bringing stability and peace to the region?
That is the $1,000 question, because we've been around this and different solutions have been pursued, and maybe the Gaza experiment, as Arjun said, was an experiment where the Palestinians got a whole area to themselves without any foreigners, no Israeli soldiers, no occupation, a open border with a neighboring Muslim country, and they have a border with Egypt, even though Israel was blamed all the time for some kind of concentration camp or enclosement, but they had an open border with a Muslim country, and still this area, which was supposed to turn into a Singapore, turned into a huge terrorist camp, and all the money that went there for investment, for aid, was all funneled to tunnels and to prepare for war and to build rockets, which will be fired into Israel. So the optimism, and many people in Israel who were optimistic and were looking for a two-state solution understood that if this is what happened far away, it's not that far, Israel is very small, 20,000 square kilometers, but if this is what happened in the Gaza envelope, if we try the same experiment in what is called the West Bank, and it's actually Judea and Samaria, if we did this there, a few kilometers away from Israel's central population areas, then it could be devastating. So many people have now given up hope on the two-state solution, and therefore this is not a viable solution. Now, there have been many solutions tabled, some autonomous regions, some recently one of the leaders in the Hebron area offered to create a kind of an emirate system similar to the UAE system with small emirates and small areas, and even offered that their Hebron emirate will join the Abraham Accords. In the end, you have to remember that Israel and the Judea and Samaria are entwined. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from Judea and Samaria travel into Israel every day to work. They work, some of them work in simple work, but some of them are doctors and other professions and work in Israeli hospitals. So the economies are entwined. And of course, the main concern is how to keep each side with its own tradition. Israel is the only Jewish state as opposed to more than 20 Muslim states, and Israel wants to stay a Jewish state. And many of the people who want separation have been looking at solutions how to separate the populations for their own self-rule, but without creating a new country with a new entity, with a new army between the Mediterranean Sea and the river. Those who chant from the river to the sea, from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea, don't know that at some places it's 20, 30 kilometers wide. So there's not room for another army that will endanger Israel. So that's not a solution. And therefore, the solution will have to be somewhere in between. Remember that just until last week, before the Trump plan was tabled, there was a lot of talk about annexation, with some in Israel saying we want to annex parts of Judea and Samaria, mainly ones where most of the population is Jewish, and some of it which has a strategic security situation. Because remember, Gaza is on the sea at zero sea level.
Right, I am really sorry to interrupt. I'm short on time. We understand it's a historic day, a moment of relief and reflection, but also a reminder of the long road ahead. Thank you very much, Atay Melchior, Arjun Hardas, for joining me on this News 9 special. Time for us to see a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with lots more on the other side. Don't go anywhere.
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News 9 English.
Java 42, the answer.
पढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
इंडियन ऑयल स्वागत पेट्रोल पंप, क्योंकि स्वागत है हैप्पी जर्नी की रेसिपी।
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News 9 English news as it should be.
Right, breaking news coming in, viewers. A huge setback for Lalu Yadav and Tejaswi in a major development in the IRCTC scam case. Delhi's Rouse Avenue Court has framed charges against the RJD chief, his wife, former Chief Minister Rabdi Devi and son Tejasvi Yadav. When asked by the court if he would admit guilt or face trial, Lalu Yadav denied all charges, calling them false. But the court disagrees. Charges have been framed under IPC 420, cheating, IPC 120B, criminal conspiracy, and sections 13, subsection 1, subsection D, and 13, subsection 2 of the Prevention of Corruption Act. Notably, Rabdi Devi and Tejasvi will not face corruption charges, but forgery charges have been framed. The CBI court says it sees clear evidence of a larger conspiracy where land was given at a throwaway prices to the Lalu family. The judge noted, and I quote, Lalu Prasad was fully aware of the transfer of BNR hotels. There was common interest between the accused. The court called the CBI's evidence chain solid and cognate, rejecting the defense's arguments outright. This is no longer just a probe, it is a full-blown trial in the making. 14 accused, a political family and a corruption case that refuses to fade. Let me quickly go across to my colleague Jeet Bhatti, joins me live with more details on the same. Jeet, बहुत बड़ी डेवलपमेंट आ रही है, बहुत बड़ा एक झटका है लालू प्रसाद यादव और उनके पूरे परिवार तेजस्वी यादव, राबड़ी देवी के लिए भी। ये हम बात कर रहे हैं IRCTC स्कैम केस की। दिल्ली के राउज एवेन्यू कोर्ट ने उनके खिलाफ चार्जेस फ्रेम कर दिए हैं। हमें बताइए, टेक अस थ्रू द डिटेल्स ऑफ दिस केस।
बिल्कुल, देखिए, इस मामले में आरोप ये है कि लालू प्रसाद यादव जब रेलवे मंत्री थे उस वक्त उन्होंने अपने पद का दुरुपयोग किया, मिसयूज किया और वहां पर घोटाला किया। IRCTC के यानी कि 2 ऐसे होटल्स थे जिनकी लीज को गलत तरीके से दिया गया, ऐसे आरोप थे CBI के। और उसकी एवज में जो लालू फैमिली है, चाहे उनकी पत्नी राबड़ी देवी है या बेटा तेजस्वी यादव है, उनको वहां पर फायदा पहुंचाया गया। बहुत सस्ती दर पर उनको जमीनें दी गई। इस मामले में कोर्ट में आज सुनवाई थी और जो स्पेशल जज है CBI के विशाल गोगने, उन्होंने इस मामले में पहले अगर बात करें 24 सितंबर को सुनवाई हुई थी तो लालू फैमिली को ये कह दिया था कि जब उनके खिलाफ आरोपों पर बात की जाएगी, आरोप तय किए जाएंगे तो कोर्ट में पेश रहे। इसी को देखते हुए लालू प्रसाद यादव, उनकी पत्नी राबड़ी और तेजस्वी यादव जो कोर्ट के अंदर पेश हुए, उनको जज साहब ने खुद सारे आरोपों को पढ़कर सुनाया और कहा कि आपके खिलाफ जो है ये आरोप लगे हैं कि आपने एक बड़ी साजिश को रचा है, अंजाम दिया है, पद का दुरुपयोग किया है। और ये कहा कोर्ट ने कि CBI ने जो एक सीरीज पेश की है सबूत के तौर पर, एविडेंस के तौर पर, उससे प्रथम दृष्टा ये लगता है कि कहीं ना कहीं लालू प्रसाद यादव की जानकारी में एक बड़ी साजिश रची गई और इस घोटाले को अंजाम दिया गया। तो ऐसे में कोर्ट ने तीनों ही आरोपी से बार बार शुरुआत की थी। लालू प्रसाद यादव से कहा कि आप पे ये आरोप है, क्या आप इन आरोपों को मानते हैं, यानी कि प्लीड गिल्टी और नॉट। तो तीनों ने कहा कि खुद को निर्दोष मानते हैं, ये आरोप निराधार हैं और वो इस मामले में ट्रायल फेस करेंगे। तो अभी तय हो गया चुनावों से पहले। और देखिए, जिस तरह की धारा